Hello, it's Helen from Journal with Purpose and welcome to my latest video. Today I'm going to share a flip through of this little blue challenge book, and each month on Patreon I set a creative challenge and I've released flip throughs of all of these. So we did patterns in March, leaves in April, flowers in May, and for June I just gave the prompt blue to see how many different things we could come up with. So I make these little books each month and I try and use as many of my different supplies as possible. And I also set up a Pinterest board every month with different inspirational images which I think might help people out, and look through my books, so just sort of try and practice a few different skills. So for here I did some seashells using the Uni Emot fine liners. For day 2 I did some watercolour rectangles and then used different coloured gel pens on top. And one of the things I really like about these challenges is it gives me a bit more confidence with using different mediums and thinking about how I'll be able to then use them in my journals. So for here I did something a bit more mixed media using gesso as a background and then watercolour on top. And this is watercolour on top of Tomo River paper. And this one, it was again just watercolour and then a black gel pen to add some patterns. This was using some gel pens, and the ones that I tend to use the most are the Uniball Signo gel pens. I find that they work really well on craft paper, black paper, any kind of paper really, and they always stand out nicely. So for this one I did some jelly roll printing on the background and then just added a torn out image on top and a quote. And here again was a gel pen. And this was a watercolour painting. I created a few on one of my Patreon videos for galaxies and I thought that would work really well just gluing that in here. And some abstract watercolour. So with this book I put in quite a few different papers, and this is a mixed media paper. Again, lots more watercolour, which tends to be my favourite medium to work in, so the one that I always turn to if I'm looking for something I feel reasonably confident with. And this one I used a stencil and an ink pad, but then just coloured in the bottom of each of the kind of leaf shapes with a blue pencil to just give a bit of variation really. A simple collage and then acrylic paint through a stencil. This was a kind of simple weave pattern using 2 different blue coloured washi tapes. And this was using the Archer and Olive paint pens, and I've been using those quite a lot actually, so it's been nice to practice them in here and get a bit more confidence before then using them in my journals. In fact, I think last week in my bullet journal, so for these different decorations here, that's what I kind of felt a bit more confident to go ahead and use those paint pens in my journals, and I tied that up then with the washi tape that's part of my range with London Gifties. So I think that's definitely been one of the perks for me, is it's a nice small size to work on every day, and so it just kind of makes me practice new things. So that's a watercolour ginkgo leaf, and I used a gold gel pen for the highlights. That was playing with different brush strokes, so getting some of my other watercolour brushes out that I don't use very often and just seeing what kinds of different effects and I could get with them with different shades of blue. For this one I used fountain pen ink, so I used 2 different colours, and I actually used a cotton bud, actually dunked that into the ink bottles and then did the circles and let them run into each other. And I really love using fountain pen ink in that way, but you do have to make sure you've got really thick paper to be able to do that on. This was from another jelly print that I did, and I used a word stencil and then cut them up, and I've made a few different quotes using these. For this one I think it's a really fun way to do quotes is if you draw some wavy lines and then make your letters fit inside those lines. It gives a really nice quirky feel to it. For this I did a cotton plant using just blue pencils, well in the black for the stem, and I don't tend to sketch just in pencil very often, but that's something I found I really enjoyed, so I did a couple I think in here, and that's something I want to do more of in my journals. Oh, that's another coloured pencil sketch. I used a reference image from Pinterest. I changed it slightly, but had a go at kind of blending in some of the different coloured shades. And this was watercolour again, but with a blue pen on top. That was from that jelly roll print again, where I just cut out some more of the words. And so this one was watercolour and acrylic ink. And then my last 2 pages, so I did another collage, and then I used some Tombow ABT brush pens on, and I wetted them to create that background, and then added my quote on top. So I really hope you've enjoyed seeing that. I found it just so helpful to give me some fresh ideas and inspiration from my journals, and a really good way to encourage me to be a little bit creative every day. Some of these only take 5 or 10 minutes, and some of them can take 20 minutes or half an hour. So I just think about how much time I've got and what I can realistically do in that time. As always, I want to say a massive thank you to everybody who's joined me over on Patreon. I really hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you're doing well, and I look forward to speaking with you really soon in my next one.